Under the table, the sensation of her poking fingers made my heart flutter. With a bit of alcohol, her expression was more alluring than usual. "Are you holding back anything?" she asked. I could only utter monosyllabic responses like "oh" or "no." Then, with a smile, she suggested, "Why not let everything go? That'll be good for you. Let yourself free, okay?" Can a man resist when such words are spoken by a woman he's smitten with? I couldn't. I decided to bare my all to her. Yes, she had completely stripped me bare. My name is Jen Mason, a mediocre 35-year-old office worker. My only hobby is scuba diving. Scuba diving is great. I don't have other hobbies, nor friends. The beauty of the sea makes you forget all the stress. As long as I can communicate with my buddy, I don't have to talk to anyone else. The area where I currently work is famous for marine sports. The sea where I usually dive is nearby, and having all the necessary equipment makes fun dives surprisingly affordable for me. I had reasons to come to this place, but I was grateful that I could devote my time to the hobby. As usual, I came to dive on my days off. The boat is always handled by a guy from a familiar diving shop. He knows many good diving spots, so I always leave it up for him where we go. He isn't very friendly, but I'm not one for small talk, so it's fine. One day, while enjoying a dive from his boat, I spotted a woman when I returned to the dock. She seemed to have just returned from diving as well. It's not uncommon to run into other divers after finishing my own dive. But I couldn't take my eyes off her. Once I saw her, I was captivated by her sheer beauty. My eyes first landed on her glistening, water-drenched hair. Next, I found myself entranced by her body. Although I knew it was wrong, I couldn't help but gaze at her attractive figure, accentuated by her diving suit. I think it was love at first sight for me. But I didn't have the courage to walk up to her. After all, an average guy like me wouldn't stand a chance with a beauty like her. All I could do was watch her from afar. However, I was soon able to see her again, at my workplace of all places. I work for a large trading company, but I'm not stationed at the head office. I commute to a food processing plant every day. I used to be at the head office, but I've been working at this plant for the past 2 years. My job is to oversee the workers here. There are many foreign workers, and communication can be challenging, but I think I'm doing well. Well, I call it overseeing, but it's more like being an office worker with a mix of miscellaneous duties. I came to this plant 2 years ago and haven't told my colleagues about my previous department or my educational background. I have bitter memories, so I keep quiet about it. Of course, my boss, Matt, knows, but thanks to his consideration, he keeps it quiet. At first, my secretive nature prompted many questions from everyone, but I never gave any real answers and reacted coldly. Now, no one talks to me about anything other than work. I do my job, but my days are lonely. Yet in the midst of these days, the day of our reunion arrived. I'm Abby White from the head office. I'll be here for just 3 months, but I'm looking forward to working with you all. Thus introduced the woman who came to learn about the work at this plant from the head office for a limited period of 3 months, Abby White. She's the same age as me, and so beautiful. She's highly regarded in the head office, and a pan-comer they say. After I left, she was headhunted from a rival company and came to ours, a true elite. She is also the woman I fell in love with at first sight after diving. She looked stunning in her diving wetsuit, but in a business suit, she exuded a strong, professional vibe, which was equally impressive. She wore suits that fit her body stylishly. For her, it was only a 3-month stint at our plant, but she went all out. If there was anything she didn't understand, she'd ask. She also actively engaged in communication with the plant workers. She looked dazzling to my eyes. For someone like me who's lost his passion for work and is isolated at workplace. There was a time when I was passionate about my work, too. I can't help but laugh at my jaded self. One day, a fight broke out among the foreign workers at the plant. It started off as an argument between two people, but by the time we the supervisors rushed to the scene, more than 10 people were already embroiled in the dispute. Our company actively hires foreign workers, so the nationalities are diverse. Normally, communication is conducted primarily in English and Spanish, but this time it seems to have heated up considerably. At first, they argued in their usual languages, but they soon began cursing each other in their native tongues. Probably, the fact that they didn't understand each other only exacerbated their anger. The first to step in was Abby. She tried to persuade them in English and Spanish, but they seemed to be in no mood to listen. It looked like a physical fight was about to break out between them, so I hurriedly stepped in as well. After getting Abby to step back, I called out to a few guys who were causing the most trouble. Fortunately, the center of the dispute was between a Chinese and a Vietnamese worker. I happened to speak both languages. Thinking their native languages would resonate more with them in their heated state, I listened to their grievances in Vietnamese and Chinese. The workers, who were surprised at me for speaking both languages, started to listen to what I had to say. The whole incident seemed to be a small misunderstanding, but upon listening, it became clear that the foreign workers had their own concerns. Perhaps they were frustrated because they couldn't convey their feelings well in English. I continued to listen to the workers' opinions while interpreting it for my boss, Matt. We couldn't incorporate all their opinions, but I think we were able to find a good compromise. Sometimes, when Matt was at a loss for a response, I even proposed a solution. When everything was resolved, Matt expressed his gratitude to me quite a bit. "Well, Jan, you're a real standout. The elite really is different." I quickly shushed Matt, who was praising me like that. "Could you please make this a case handled and resolved by you, boss?" I got it. Matt answered cheerfully. "I can speak Spanish, Chinese, and a little Vietnamese. But I absolutely don't want everyone to know that. I'd rather be seen as a guy who's not very useful." The hardest person to deceive was Abby, because I had spoken multiple languages in front of her. As expected, after the issue was resolved, Abby bombarded me with questions. "That's amazing that you can speak so many languages. Did you study abroad, or did you learn it for work?" I laughed it off. "Well, haha, that's embarrassing. Please forget about it. It was just a coincidence that I could speak those languages. I'm just an ordinary, unimpressive employee." Abby seemed to have more to say, but when I avoided the conversation and left the scene, she didn't say anything else afterwards. She might have understood my desire not to be scrutinized. About a month after the workers' quarrel, the company's end-of-year party was held. I often decline invitations to parties, but I always make a point to attend the end-of-year party. As the party progressed and people got a bit tipsy, Abby came to sit next to me. Abby will be returning to the head office after the new year. It'd be only a little while where I can see her beautiful self. I was feeling a bit sad. Then, something touched my leg under the table. It was Abby, playfully nudging my leg. What? I was a little taken aback and tried to ask her what was going on, but Abby put her finger to her lips and said, "Shh. You're hiding something, aren't you? You're actually really competent, right?" Her words took me by surprise. "That's not true at all. You don't have to hide it. Why don't you let it all out? Clear the air, don't you think?" Though her tone was light and it sounded like she was joking, her eyes were serious. So I nodded to Abby's words and we snuck out of the end-of-year party together. We found a quiet bar where we could relax and ordered some drinks. Then I slowly began to speak. Do you mind listening to my pathetic story? No, not at all. I approached you because I wanted to hear your story. I used to work at the head office. I can speak several languages. I'm good at negotiating, and I even received a notice of promotion to manager. Upon hearing my words, Abby's eyes sparkled. Manager at the head office, at your age, that's amazing. But then, how come you sent off this far? My wife cheated on me. I came home early as a surprise on our wedding anniversary, and there was another man. She didn't even try to justify or apologize. She just demanded a divorce. She told me, it's your fault for neglecting me. I want someone who stays by my side. You just graduated from a good university and have a high-paying job. That's it. Abby slammed the bar table with a bang. That's horrible. Unforgivable. I laughed at her words. No, the horrible one is me. What she said was true. I was always working. I didn't even care about my wife's birthday or our anniversaries. I was really the worst. That day, I just happened to remember our anniversary. It seemed like she also wanted children and was struggling with infertility. However, I wasn't concerned about that at all. I was immersed in my work and things were going well, so I lightly thought it would be nice if we could have children someday. She was also worried about having children, but I was rarely at home and always focused on my work. I left my wife feeling lonely. Moreover, I didn't even realize that she was feeling lonely. What an idiot I am. I started not caring about which word to use, as I got carried away with my story, but it seemed okay given the circumstances. After the divorce, I couldn't forgive my past self. It's true that I enjoyed working, but my wife was more important than that. In the beginning, she was also happy to see me working hard. I wanted to make her happy, and that's why we got married, but I couldn't cherish her at all. I couldn't get the words, "You're just a man with good education and high salary," out of my mind. I started to believe that I was no good as a person. That made me lose my motivation for work and my personal life. I couldn't eat, and both my mind and body were falling apart. I fell into depression, and I eventually submitted my resignation. But there was someone who stopped me. It was my boss at that time, a man named John. Take some time off. Maybe there are things you should reflect on in your personal life, but I value your capabilities. Once you've recovered, come back. He said such encouraging words to me. I love diving, and knowing that, John suggested that I recuperate while working in a plant near the sea. That's how I ended up being here, I said. She remained silent for a while, as if she was thinking about something. After a while, she asked, I understand why you transferred here, but why do you keep it a secret about your educational background and your time at the headquarters and isolating from everybody? Why do you hide it, Jan? I put too much importance on my educational and work history and ended up hurting my wife. I was so fixated on these things, but I couldn't even make the person closest to me happy. After I separated from my wife, I lost all motivation, and I also lost my passion for work. I don't care about my educational background or work history anymore. Abby quickly downed the drink in her glass. Then she started yelling, "You've got to be kidding me." Her outburst made both me and the bartender flinch. Quit wallowing. No matter what the reason, infidelity is wrong. You might have been inconsiderate, and maybe you didn't understand women, but your wife should have spoken up too. She didn't say anything to you beforehand, did she? I nodded in response to her fiery lecture. This is a marital problem between the two of you. It's not entirely your fault. It's also strange that your wife expected you to understand without saying anything. This does not justify having an affair. Her assertive response left me speechless. It's foolish of you to feel responsible for the outcome of your marriage. Fall sick. and come to a standstill. Pull yourself together. I received a lengthy lecture from Abby after that. Your boss asked you to come back, didn't he? That's not a common kind of boss, you know. I understand you took a medical leave, but you're better now, aren't you? You're just relaxing and diving here. Is that what you want? Well, I love diving too, but we can still go diving when we relocate close to the headquarters, right? I was reminded of the gentle and dependable face of my boss John. Even after 2 years, John would invite me for drinks and keep in touch. Without showing any disappointment at my depressed state, he patiently waited for my return. If you are capable, you should return to the headquarters. The plant isn't the place for your talents. I'm not sure if you can return with all this moping though. I'm going to the headquarters first. I'll work hard and climb the ladder. Abby shone brightly as she spoke. I like you. Yes, I do, I unintentionally murmured. Though I regretted it, I couldn't take back my words. Abby blushed instantly. What are you saying out of the blue? We were talking about work. I'm not interested in dating anyone right now. I'm focused solely on work. But well, I was impressed by you when the dispute happened, so I might consider it if you return to the headquarters and start over again. I had braced myself for a hard rejection, but it seemed I'd managed to dodge that bullet. Whether or not my feelings would reach her depended on my actions from here on out. I'll give it my all, I said. At those words, Abby showed the brightest smile I'd ever seen on her. Soon after the new year, she returned to the headquarters. Later, I contacted John and spent a year making my way back to the headquarters. Finally, I came back to my former office. Upon seeing me, Abby narrowed her eyes and gave me a warm smile. After our reunion at the company, I invited her out for dinner. You made a speedy recovery. I worked really hard. Remember our deal? Of course, I've been waiting all this while. Tears welled up in her eyes as she spoke. I like you a lot. Can you stay by my side? She nodded with a smile. Yes, you can be a bit of a wimp sometimes. I'll have to keep you in line. Our relationship progressed smoothly from there, and we eventually got married. Now, Abby Wyatt is not only my wonderful wife, but also a fierce rival at work who pushes me to do my best.